Cam Johnson is definitely the most interesting guy in this list. So Cam Johnson is, it seems like everybody has somewhat of an interest for the guy. And this is coming from my coworker at HoopsHype.com, link in the description, Michael Scotto, that the Brooklyn Nets forward Cam Johnson has drawn trade interest from several teams, including the Toronto Raptors and Kings, league sources told the HoopsHype. The Indiana Pacers and the Orlando Magic also registered exploratory trade interest in Johnson, league sources told HoopsHype. However, Indiana has agreed to a 4-year, $60 million extension with Obi Toppin, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, while we know Orlando is pursuing Contavious Caldwell-Pope and Isaiah Hartenstein before considering any other players. So it seems like those two are the latter aren't going to really happen, but they had interest just to keep them in the back of your mind. Now, we also know the Cavs have had interest, according to a report from Chris Fedora of Cleveland.com. However, nothing has materialized on that front to this point. HoopsHype has learned Johnson shot 39% from three last season and is owed $68.8 million over the next 2 seasons. While Brooklyn is entering a rebuild, Johnson's considered one of the trade options on this team after they traded Mikal Bridges. Now, let's just go through, and I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys think a deal for Cam Johnson would look like and why? I think we're going to go ahead and talk about what those deals would look like. Hit that like and subscribe button. Now, we're going to first start off with, I guess, the Pacers and Magic will be the last one, but the Cavaliers, Kings, and Raptors are going to be the ones. I think the Cavaliers are going to be the easiest ones to tell you what the package would be. They don't have a ton of draft capital to work with, so when you look at it, you know that they would try to be using as little as draft capital as possible. And the next thought would be that they would want to offer players that they think are either not aligned or ones that they would want to move off of. So my thought is, if you try to do Dean Wade and Ty Jerome with, so George Niang, Dean Wade, Ty Jerome give you $17.2 million. I believe they would not be able to do, I think that, okay, they would be able. So this is what I think the Cavs would want to do. George Niang, Dean Wade, Ty Jerome. Dean Wade and George Niang are on 2-year deals. They have 2 years remaining on their deal. Cheap value. They could easily flip those contracts, but they're shooters. They're going to have value. Then Ty Jerome's just above the league minimum of what would be a league minimum. So I feel like that would be another one really easy to move off of. But I don't think the Cavs would offer anything more than that. Maybe you mix in a Sam Merrill. You could exchange Sam Merrill. I don't think they want to move off of Strus or Karis LeVert. You basically want to have Strus, Karis LeVert, and Cam Johnson be your options instead of Strus, Karis LeVert, George Niang, and Dean Wade. And then they would go find a replacement for Ty Jerome in free agency. Now, the next team we're hearing is the Raptors. The Raptors they want, I think, length, size to be with RJ Barrett. The assumption would just be straight up Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, then you would find another team for Bruce Brown. My assumption is if you're a team like the Heat, does Bruce Brown interest you in a 3-team trade where you send this to the Heat? He have $23 million that they have to make a decision then right there. My thought, and we know Caleb Martin's gone. All right, he's declining that, so that money's gone. And we also know Mr. Kevin Love declined that, so that money is not accounting against the cap. We know these two guys picked up their contracts, so they are counting against the cap. So what do you think right here? Bruce Brown, $23 million. Do you include a Duncan Robinson or I think personally, you look at Duncan right here and you send that to the Raptors. The Raptors, as we said earlier, not the Raptors, to the Nets. What if this is the deal that you would want to do? No picks involved, you just swap players. What ends up happening here? Oh, the Heat need to cut $537,000 before they could do a deal like this. So they basically would have to include a young guy, one of their young players, that either like an Orlando Robinson or Jovic. My assumption is you just say, all right, Nets, here's Jovic. I mean, not Jovic, Orlando Robinson. We call it a day, and that works out. So the Heat right here, they would basically, from my understanding, be able just to take Bruce Brown. You give the Nets Orlando Robinson and Duncan. You give them the two Robinson bros. And Raptors get Cam Johnson. Duncan Robinson's a cheaper deal. He gets to rehab his image in Brooklyn. they get off of Cam's money, which was way longer and more, and then Bruce Brown comes here to replace him. I don't think that's a terrible idea for a 3-team deal, and then everybody gets who they want. Now, if we're looking at the next deal, which we heard the Kings, my assumption, if you're trying to do it, the Kings are trying to get off of Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter, and I think that's still the deal. And then they'll probably offer you, I assume they're picking 2026. You ask for Cam Johnson, and maybe they go like, well, we brought back Mr. So they're sending you $34 million. What if they ask for Dorian Finney-Smith because they think that'll help raise their ceiling? They give you a first round. Supposedly this makes you worse, but I think this might make you better if you're the Kings. I don't know how this doesn't make you better. This is a decent deal. Now, what are the other deals that could potentially happen that we're looking for? And yeah, so we're keeping an eye out for what's going on in Philadelphia. So the last 2 deals that we're hearing are Magic and Pacers. I think the Magic, again, this would be like the last resort deal. You send them Cam Johnson, trade to the Magic. The Magic would then just try to find salaries that they're trying to get off of. They've already declined Joe Ingles, so Joe Ingles is not on the books from my understanding. He is going into free agency. And outside of that, so who would you put in this deal? I think Caleb Houston's obviously in this deal. I don't think they want to give up Jonathan Isaac. I think they really like Jonathan Isaac. Would it be Wendell Carter? But they really like Noah Conley. But is Noah Conley a power forward? So would you do then? My thought is do you want to keep Cole Anthony? I think you got to look at this and be thinking, okay, how about this? How about this? You ask for second round picks. That's what I think they should be asking for, is second round picks from the Nets. I think this one the Nets would have to give up assets, but the Nets walk away with Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., and Caleb Houston. The Magic get 4 second round picks and Cam Johnson because they're taking on salary. And I know you're saying, well, technically the Nets are taking on salary, but the Nets are getting good players while the Magic are getting 1 player. In that sense. And then the last one, I don't think the Pacers are doing this anymore because they just gave him that 4-year, 3-year deal or 4-year deal? What was it? Obi Toppin. I'm pretty sure it was a 3-year. Just make sure. Obi Toppin contract. 4-year. Okay, so it's even better value. 4-year, 15. Oh, wow. You guys are chums. 15. There we go. Spread across 4 years. 4 years. Okay. 4 years. Now you got to make sure that's aware on the book. So who would you trade then in this situation? I know you're hearing that Jarris and Benedict are on the block, allegedly. That puts you at 13.6. You're sending out 23. And also, what was Pascal? He signs a 4-year 189.5 with an annual of 47. All right, we got to go ahead and do this real quick. Modify contract because we got to see if you can even do it like this for the Pacers because you got to do a 4-year. I'm surprised they gave him the full max. I mean, if that helps, it makes sense. If they believe it, they believe it. So who here would they have to include outside? I know he declined his contract, so he's not on the books. Would they include anybody else on here? I just, did they give Nembhard contract extension yet? I know Nembhard's up for an extension. No, he's not up for, he did not sign the extension yet. We'll throw in Kendall, I guess, right here. I think they really like Isaiah Jackson, but would they be willing to throw him in this deal if it allowed them to? And they could replace him with Shrive. Would this deal work in terms of money? It does. So they would be able to do this deal They'd have to give up Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Jackson, Kendall Brown. And even after Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin were re-signed, they would be able to do it. That's insane. And they'd have Cam Johnson on this team. That's wild. They would have to give up Benedict, Jarris, Isaiah Jackson, and Kendall Brown, it seems. They'd have to give up a lot to get the money across.